Once you've entered the adult industry of Japan, chances are you're saying goodbye to ever being on mainstream TV. And even if you do manage to get on, you might not have much say in what kind of way. But this woman decided that none of that applied to her. Stick around for this unique story of how an adult actress managed to make it to mainstream entertainment and even star in Tokusatsu. In this episode of Otaku Files, we talk about Oikawa Nao. Most of us outside of Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape, so I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku Files. Yep, once again we're exploring the spicy side of entertainment. However, the person we're going to discuss is somewhat of an anomaly. Similar to former adult actress Chan Yota, who I've also made a video about, this woman also managed to make a transition between two completely different worlds. However, she managed to achieve something arguably a lot more difficult. Going from the adult world to mainstream daytime TV. Meet Oikawa Nao. Nao is apparently considered a quote-unquote legend within the adult world of Japan, and no, I didn't do any extensive research to find that out. However, after retiring in 2004, despite any stigma that's typically attached to those that have been in the adult world, Nao managed to make it to mainstream TV, most notably for starring in Tokusatsu. Without going too deep into it, Tokusatsu literally means special filming. It's a Japanese term for live-action films or TV programs that heavily use practical special effects. So think Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and Super Sentai, the American adaptation of which would become to be known, of course, as Power Rangers. Nao has actually been in a number of different tokusatsu. However, she's apparently most well known for playing the villainess Gaisui Daijin Kegaresia, or in English, Water Pollution Minister Kegalesia, in the series Enjin Sentai Go-onger, the 32nd installment in the Super Sentai meta-series. So how exactly did she manage to pull this transition off? And why did she even enter the adult world in the first place? Let's go back a bit. Nao was born in the prefecture of Hiroshima. There isn't a ton of clear information out there about her early years, so bear with me a bit, but from what I've discovered, we can start to understand the reasons why Nao ended up in the adult world. Nao says that from her elementary school years, she actually changed schools a number of times. I'm going to assume here it's because of her parents' job, like getting transferred to different places, and that's apparently how she ended up living in Tokyo. Anyway, Nao says that perhaps because she was always getting transferred, as a kid, she used to observe people in a calm and reserved manner, always thinking to herself that she wanted to be an adult as soon as possible. She also thought it was a pain trying to be part of one of the girl groups and found herself being somehow detached. I mean, if you're always changing schools, it's probably going to be hard to form lasting friendships. Around the time she graduated high school, Nao had a sudden thought that she had nothing, that she was completely empty. Now, I have read that she entered a design school or academy after graduating, which, if true, certainly didn't last long, since Nao made her debut within the adult industry when she was around 19 years old, apparently being scouted out in public on the street. Even at that time, Nao knew that the adult industry wasn't exactly an easy world to jump into. I'm going to assume here she understood that Japanese society was going to look at her very differently, but it was her curiosity, driven by feelings of wanting to know who she was, that would push her in. Nao also decided that if she was going to do this, she had to be the best. I'm sure many appreciated that. Apparently though, things weren't easy for her in the beginning, and Nao certainly didn't gain her popularity overnight. Supposedly, she even studied other actresses within the industry in order to improve her quote-unquote act. That might sound like some crazy dedication, but in order to do those kind of videos, Nao says that she ended up creating a different persona of herself, one where her feelings were detached from her body, which makes me guess she might not have enjoyed her job that much, despite what was shown on screen, and didn't find out who she was through that process, ultimately leading Nao to make the decision to leave the industry. Like I already mentioned, she did build quite a reputation for herself, which is probably why Nao was able to get on late night variety shows after retiring from the adult world. However, it was also because of that reputation that the offers she got were all based around something sexual, and struggled because she wasn't in a position to choose the kind of work she wanted to do. In fact, at one point, Nao was thinking of just returning to being an ordinary citizen, in other words, cutting her ties with entertainment completely. But it was then that Nao would get an offer that would end up helping shift her career. It was a part for one of the episodes of Phantasma Noroi no Yakata, which seems to be a horror-based late-night TV show. However, Nao wasn't just in front of the camera, she actually got to be the director of that episode. That process of learning how to direct and create something was fun. In fact, Nao says it was the first time she felt like that. Now, someone who Nao would get to know in Phantasma Noroi no Yakata would help her down the path of being a non-adult actress. That person being Nitta Takao, one of the scriptwriters who apparently introduced her to Kaji Kengo. Kaji Kengo is a prominent manga writer, screenwriter, director, the list goes on, but one of the things he was involved with was Garo, which, as a lot of you may know, is a Tokusatsu series. Kaji Kengo was apparently one of the lead scriptwriters, and thanks to his recommendation, would allow Nao to appear in episode 6, playing a younger version of one of the characters named Himigawa Kotomi, and it's through the connections that she made that would enable Nao to get more work involving Tokusatsu, including Ultra 7X, that is a part of the Ultra series. It's also not too long after that we would see Nao in Enjin Sentai Go-onger. I also need to mention she's been in Kamen Rider too, playing Hachi Onna in the movie Kamen Rider X Kamen Rider W and Decade Movie War 2010. It's a very long title, so I'm only gonna say the English title. This actually makes Nao one of the very few people to have appeared in Garo, Ultraman, Super Sentai, and Kamen Rider. Although Nao moved to doing stage plays and more quote-unquote realistic kind of movies, she still very much embraces her roles within Tokusatsu. Nao has a YouTube channel, by the way, where she regularly posts Let's Plays. Yep, turns out she's quite the gamer. In fact, she's into a number of different things, including mahjong, and says that she actually started playing when she was 5 years old, so she must be pretty damn good. Anyway, I'll leave some links in the usual place as always. For me, Nao's story was one of self-discovery. She entered a taboo world to see if she could find out who she was, and even though things probably didn't go originally to plan, she managed to make it in the end. One thing that I noticed about Nao throughout my research is that she seems so approachable. She's so friendly, which I think drew a lot of people to her, contributing to her making that very difficult transition. What's also interesting is that I didn't find any evidence of public backlash against a former adult actress being in Tokusatsu. If anything, the reception was apparently quite positive, which is great. I wish her all the best. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I bet many of you didn't see this one coming, but I hope you did enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, as always, in the comments section below. I wonder how many researchers are going to be in the comment section this time. But yeah, let me know who else you'd like me to cover. Thanks again. Hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves out there. Peace.